Hi, good afternoon po sa lahat. Good afternoon, everybody. So for today, sa CF8 or Character Formation 8, we will going to discuss the last part of our course or ang ating subject na global citizenship. And for today, ang discussion is the requirement for a healthy society. So as a global citizen, we have to have knowledge of the requirement or the kumbaga yung ano ba itsura ng isang society na masabi nating healthy. Okay. Masabi ba nating healthy ang isang society kapag madaming giyera? Ano ang indication na ang isang bansa ay merong maayos at healthy na society? So for today, this topic is for us probably to learn how a particular nation or the nations all over the world make their society, make their environment, make their country yung tinatawag nating pasok sa tinatawag nating healthy society. So this one, ang una po nating topic dito ay ang standard of living. What does it mean pag sinabi nating standard of living? Ang standard of living is a measure of the material aspects of a national or regional economy. So pag sinasabi nating standard of living po, nasusukat dito yung gaano ka gandang ekonomiya ng isang bansa or ang mga countries beyond that region base doon sa tinatawag nating material aspects. Ano ba itong material aspects na to? So yung material aspects na to, we are counting here the amount of goods, the services that is being produced, and it's not only produced, it is available for purchase by a person, a family, a group, or a nation. So pag sinabi nating amount of goods and services, for example, sa Philippines, gaano karami ang available na mangoes that farmers produce? Gaano kadami ang rice that farmers produce? Gaano kadami ang TV, ang mga gadgets, what else? Those consumable products that it is not only produced, they must be, this amounts of these goods and services must be available for purchase. Sino ang nagpo-purchase? Person or individual, consumers, tinatawag natin consumers. The family or consumers or customers. Okay. Family, group, or nation. So, pag sinabi nating standard of living, meron tayong aspeto kung paano malalaman, paano yung counting ng standard of living ng isang nation. Dito, by just taking account of the amount of goods and services produced and available for purchase, parang maisip mo na, papasok agad dyan ang gross domestic product. Ganon. Okay? So, standard of living, this one, if hindi natin, or halimbawa, no, hindi available, hindi nakakapag-produce sa isang nation yung mga tao ng goods or services, walang i-avail, walang i-consume ang mga individual, the family, group, people, person, nation, or whatsoever. Kumbaga, magiging ano siya, hindi napupunan yung pangailangan. Same then, even if meron tayong amounts of goods and services being produced, pero walang magpo-purchase, kumbaga imbalance, no? So, dito sa standard of living, pinag-usapan natin how many goods are being produced a year, how many services are available, how many, or the demand, is it madayang demand for those products and services, sino ang gagamit, sinong particular segment of the market ang gagamit. Okay? So dito, sa isang healthy society, merong laging pangangailangan, merong needs and wants, no? Nag-exist kayo po especially sa atin, no, madami tayong mga pangailangan. And importante na mapunan yon. Sino ang nagpro-provide ng ganong pangailangan? For example, food. Okay? Kung hindi ikaw ang gagala, for example, if you're a farmer, you are doing something to feed yourself, you plant. Okay? But if you're not a farmer, you don't plant, you don't grow seeds, you don't harvest from that. You are either go to a particular market to buy it, di ba? So isang healthy society may ganon, may buying and selling, may consuming, may producing. Okay? So that's one healthy society. Now, ano bang mas marami? Dapat lahat ng pangailangan ng person, family, group, or nation ay available sa market. If that is not available, meron tayong imbalance na society or hindi, baga masabi natin na pasok siya sa hindi healthy na society. Now, the definition of standard of living, although ito na nga na-mention na natin, it is the measure of material aspects of national or regional economy. Dito ba mas specific? Ang standard of living is being defined here. Kumbaga, magkaiba siya doon sa standard of living na akala natin yung measures of quality of life. Yeah, halimbawa, yung mas mayaman, mas mataas yung standard of living nila kaysa sa mga mas mahihirap. Okay, no. Doon sa standard of living in different, of which not measures of the quality of life. Kasi dito, yung standard of living include non-material characteristics such as relationship, freedom, satisfaction. So, ibang aspeto ito ng standard of living. Halimbawa, no, in a healthy society, there is a good relationship between people and among people. There is, in a healthy society, may freedom, di ba? Pag freedom, you can do what you want without masyadong paghihigpit ng government or ng society, at meron tayong satisfaction. So we consider that in a particular society, yung standard of living sinasabi natin, pasok ito, no? Merong non-material characteristics. No? So isa rin, a healthy society is not only in a mere fact that we are measuring our output, the amounts of goods and services produced and available, but also yung tinatawag nating non-material characteristics, may relationship, may freedom and satisfaction. Now, there are analyses that attempt to measure quality of life. Siyempre, yung quality of life, paano mo ba ma-measure ito? No? Sa pamamagitan ng material na bagay na meron sa isang mga individual person. Masabi mo na may mataas na standard of living isang family if that family may kotse, may magandang bahay, hindi nagugutuman. Okay? That's how we measure the quality of life. No? Para masabi natin doon sa standard of living. Ngayon, may standards ba na ini-indicate ang society? Yes, may siniset na standards ang society natin kung paano mabuhay ang mga tao sa isang society. Okay. So, yung sinasabi ko, indices that attempts to measure quality of life also include material standard of living measurement. So dito, the standard of living is narrowly focused on the value of goods and services produced and consumed. Ibig sabihin po, dito sa discussion natin, yung standard of living na sinasabi natin dito ay nakafocus para masabi natin yung quality of life of any individual or family or group is in terms of the value of goods that they consume and also the value of goods and services being produced. Okay? Now, para mas maintindihan po natin, let's make it clear here in the next definition. This is how standard of living is being measured. Okay? Paano sinusukat ang standard of living? Generally po, the measurement for standard of living per nation is the gross domestic. Wait lang po. generally po, ang measurement ng standard of living sa isang nation ay yung tinatawag niyang GDP or Gross Domestic Product. Paano ba itong Gross Domestic Product? So dito, ang GDP kasi po is the output, the product and services being produced, okay, in a year, annual basis po ito, by everyone. Ibig sabihin, yung magtataho, ilan ba ang naiproduce niya, yung mga nagbebenta ng mangga or farmers, yung mga nasa laundry shop, gaano kalaki yung gaano kadaming services they have provided. So everyone in that country, okay, yung output na ina-produce, pag sinabi nating output, these are the goods and services being produced in a year. So that's the gross domestic product. Now, if we're going to check sa internet ang GDP ng Philippines, no? Para magbigay lang tayo ng konting idea. May kasi ako. Na tayo. Ayan. Now, let's check kung ano ang or gaano kalaki ang GDP ng Philippines ng year 2020. Ayon po sa data from the World Bank, ang GDP ng Philippines or ang gross domestic product ng Philippines was worth $361.49 billion noong 2020 lang po yan. So dito po ibig sabihin kinikwenta ang ating GDP by dollars, hindi 5,000 sako ng banana, 10,000 laundry services, hindi po ganon. Yung worth niya into billion dollar or into dollars. So ang Philippines from 2010 increasing yung kanyang gross domestic product. Ibig sabihin po, mula 2010, yung ating gross domestic product ay pataas ng pataas as the year increase or as time goes by. So, let's say, ang pinanggagaling nito sa dami ng workforce, sa pag-improve ng production, okay, nakakatulong po yun for our gross domestic product to increase. Okay? Now, meron tayong tinatawag na real GDP per capita. Ito, kapag yung tinatawag nating, pag wala yung inflation, meron kasi tayong tinatawag na inflation. Ang inflation ay ang pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin. So, regardless or yung tinatawag nating ceteris paribus or with all things held constant, our real GDP, it is better. Yung GDP natin, yun yung better measurement of standard of living without removing or without considering yung inflation. Kasi kapag may inflation, no, of course, yung GDP natin, pag may pagtaas ng bilihin, yung mga consumers, they tend to decrease their purchase. Okay? So, in consideration of removal of the effects of inflation, our real GDP, ito yung measurement nung tinatawag nating standard of living. So, a country that produce a lot will be able to pay higher wages, diba? That means its residents or yung mga tao can afford to buy more of its plentiful production. Halimbawa, no, si Philippines, they produce more mangoes in a particular year. So, in that count, in that incident or in that case, mas magkakaroon ng halimbawa si Philippines nagproduce siya ng mango and madami nag-a-avail, mas profitable, may kakayahang magbayad ng higher wages sa kanyang mga sa mga farmers. Okay? So ibig sabihin, the residents, those consumers have more ability to buy. Yung tinatawag nating demand. So demand kasi in economics, there is a big difference for a need and a demand. Kapag need, gusto ko ng cake, parang ganon. Gusto ko ng Apple, that's your need. Gusto ko ng iPhone. Pero pag sinabi mong demand, you have the capability to buy it. Okay? May pambili ka. Kahit gusto mo ng cake, kung wala kang pambili, it's not considered to be a demand. It is only considered to be a need. So kung meron kang demand, ibig sabihin, you need an apple, you need a cake, and you also have the money to buy that particular need. Okay? So, ang tinatawag natin doon ay demand. Now, meron pong flaws ang GDP natin. Sabi ko, we are measuring the standard of living. So, kung yung figures na nabanggit ko kanina, if the Philippines noong 2020 ay merong 361.49 billion US dollars, para masabi natin that medyo maganda ang standard of living ng mga tao sa Philippines. Is that correct? We can check sa statistics kung pang-ilan ang Philippines sa may mga matataas na bansa sa tinatawag nating may magandang standard of living. Noong 2020 po, ang global GDP sa buong mundo ay global mundo na. Wait lang, saan na ba yun? Usually the number one or yung common na mataas ang GDP ang US. Those who belong in the G7, the North, United States of America, in millions of dollars, or gross domestic product ranking number 1 is the US. Ibig sabihin, maganda yung standard of living din, mataas. Pangalawa ang China, pangatlo ang Japan, pang-apat ang Germany. Now, if we're going to check kung ano nung 2020 ang Philippines, pang ilan ba siya? Nasa 100, no? Hindi ko mahanap. Wait lang. Hindi naman po tayo nasa huli. Ang pinakahuli po yung tawag natin, hindi lang ma-account pero sa Tuvalu, millions, sa Nauru, sa Kiribati, those small islands and nations, they have the those small amount of GDP. Pero yun po ay base sa liit ng bansa at sa dami ng population. Okay? It's not, wait lang po, maingay yung aso. It's not that even if pang-last siya, mababa yung GDP. Hindi yan sinasabi na last siya, ibig sabihin mababa yung standard of living. No. Depende po doon sa kanilang population. And of course, yung characteristics mismo ng bansa na yun. Kung mahanap si Philippines ng 2020, wait lang po. Kasi nung nasa 147 or 43, tama ba? Hindi ko lang alam kung bumabata. Hindi ko mahanap. Okay, pag nahanap ko, sabihin ko mamaya. Ayan. So, in that, masabi natin na ang isang bansa, they are trying to increase the standard of living by way of increasing the production and making these products available for the public. Okay? Sabi natin, mas healthy in society kapag merong mataas na GDP. Now, ang flaws ng GDP natin, yung kung masabi natin na hindi dapat gamitin na GDP. Hindi dapat gamitin ang GDP as measurement for standard of living. Sabi kasi dito, GDP per capita doesn't count unpaid work. Kasi di ba, pag may mga unpaid work includes critical activities like in-home child or elder care, no? Kasi these are services, no? Minsan yung mga, para po masabi na nakasama sa GDP yung mga bayad na serbisyo, okay, yun po Pero pag mga unpaid work, yan, medyo isang flaw, isang disadvantage, kumbaga. ng GDP as sukatan ng standard of living. Kasi hindi mo na i-measure unpaid, hindi na isasama yung unpaid work. Yung mga volunteer activities and housework. So, many activities that are included in GDP couldn't occur if weren't these support activities. Ano pa? GDP per capita doesn't effectively measure pollution, safety, and health, di ba? Kasi sabi nga natin, meron tayong non-material characteristics ng GDP. So, hindi kasama sa pollution. Halimbawa sa Philippines, no, we produced $361.47 billion of GDP. Pero may masyado namang mataas ang pollution natin sa Philippines, or hindi naman masyadong safe yung mga tao sa Philippines. Hindi pa rin natin masabi na healthy yung society natin. Tama ba? The government may encourage the development of industry that use chemicals as part of its manufacturing process. Diba, no? Sa Philippines, nakapag-produce ng sobrang dami ng aircons and refrigerators, pero nag-emit sila ng chlorofluorocarbons, which is, diba, hindi nakakatulong sa society, sa environment. Okay? Elected officials only see the jobs created, and the standard of living measures only counts the value of the goods produced. The cost of polluted air and water may not be recognizable until decades later. So, in a healthier society, when it comes to measuring it in terms of GDP, hindi natin naisasama yung mga non-material characteristics ng standard of living. We only measure that in a particular nation, mataas ang GDP nila pero ang daming pollution. So, healthy ba yung society na yon? Di ba? O kaya, sa Kiribati or sa Bangladesh, even if they're producing or they have accumulated a good number of GDP, pero nasisira naman yung environment nila, dami namang pollution. So this is some of the flaws of GDP. Another, yung GDP per capita measurement po, it assumes the production and its reward are divided equally among everyone, but nai-ignore yung tinatawag nating income inequality, di ba? Kasi nga yung measurement natin ng GDP is for those who are employed, yan. Tapos, yung mga ibang self-employed, hindi naman naisasama sa counting ng GDP yung kanilang output. Halimbawa, yung mga online sellers na hindi nagpo-produce ng mga resibo, hindi nag-file ng income tax, ng mga nagde-declare ng kanilang sales and whatsoever, hindi na i-report ng tama. So, it can report a high standard of living for a country where only few people at the top enjoy the wealth. So, pangatlong flaw ng measurement ng standard of living through GDP ay ito nga naman, income inequality. Now, what are the factors that determines a nation's standard of living? So, maaring mas maganda na factor of determining standard of living kaysa measurement ay yung pag-check natin what makes or what affects the nation's standard of living. So, we determine it. The most important is yung tinatawag nating consumer spending. Sa GDP po, merong computation. You might be, ano ba yan? Sasabihin nyo, ano ba yan? Puro GDP. Sa subject na global citizenship in measuring a healthy society. Okay? Healthy ang society kapag marami nag-i-spend. Mga consumers, they buy. They use their money to buy their wants and needs. Okay? Abnormal, ano ba, sa ibang bansa na nakakaranas ng kahirapan, wala silang pambili. So, hindi napupunan yung pangailangan nila. Halimbawa, no, for those who are in countries such as in Africa, na mayroong malnourished na children, maraming naghihirap na tao. They really want to buy something, a food that they want, but they don't have the capacity, they don't have the demand, they don't have the income to buy it. And then at that time, pag halimbawa gusto mo mapa-ospital, gusto mo kumain pero wala kang pambili, wala kang pambayad sa ospital, mamamatay ka na lang. So, pag mas maraming ganun, hindi healthy society. Okay? So, dito, unang-una, sa computation kasi ng GDP, meron tayong consumption or yung consumer spending, the investment, the government spending, and the net export. So, later on, mali-discuss natin isa-isa. The first one that we have to consider in factors that determines the standard of living is yung consumer spending. Sa US po, 68% ng kanilang ekonomiya ay sa consumer spending. Ibig sabihin, malago ang isang ekonomiya kapag yung mga tao ay may pang-spend, laging bumibili, laging may pambili. Okay? Sa Philippines po, noong 2019, ang estimated na consumer spending natin ay umabot sa 275.86 billion. That's 2019. Ibig sabihin po, yung mga tao sa Philippines may kakayahang bumili. Okay? Hindi naman lahat. But most of the population, most of the consumers sa Philippines spend their money, hindi nila halimbawa meron kang 2 million sa bank account, hindi mo nang tinago doon. Okay? Umiikot yung pera, may pambili ang mga tao. Wait lang po. May pambili ang tao. Ibig sabihin, ang ekonomiya ay healthy, ang isang society ay healthy kapag ang tao ay nag-i-spend. Hindi nila tinatago yung kayamanan or pera nila. When people buy groceries, gasolines, and clothing, it improves their life, di ba? It improves their lives. Halimbawa, sa bahay natin walang TV, pero may pambili naman tayo ng TV. Okay? Napapaganda, it improves our life. Halimbawa, para mas mapadali ang buhay, mas maging healthy ang mga family members mo, you buy healthy foods, no? You purchase something that will make your life easier. Okay? That activity helps businesses, no? They hire more employees. So halimbawa, the more people na the more consumers na they have this amount of money to buy, it is better for businesses because they produce more, they hire more employees. Ganun po yun. So that's the effect. Another factors that we consider sa standard of living ay yung investment, government spending, and net exports. Una sa investment po, it includes new plants and equipments, real estates, and products. If companies are investing, their economy improves. Ibig sabihin po, kapag maraming investment, halimbawa maraming nagpatayo ng negosyo sa Philippines, halimbawa may mga entrepreneurs tayo that they want to engage in business. That's how the economy improves. Sabi ni Schumpeter, yung kilalang entrepreneur, nakakatulong sa ekonomiya ng Pilipinas kapag marami ang gustong mamuhunan at magtayo ng negosyo. Okay? Kapag nakikita ng mga entrepreneurs na maraming pangailangan, may pambili ang tao, that's an opportunity for businesses to invest in a particular business that will provide, that will satisfy the needs of the consumers. So maigi na meron tayong investment. Kung malaki ang spending, dapat magandang malaki din yung amount ng investment natin. Another type of spending, yung government spending. Ito po. Hindi lang po consumers ang nag-spend ng money ng kanilang resources. Nag-spend din po ang government natin. Halimbawa, ang government, no, they build roads, bridges, they create, they build public hospitals, public transportation. Sino ba ang nakikinabang dito? These are for the benefit of the citizens living in a particular nation. The higher, sabi dito, the more na merong infrastructure na or maraming mga ini-spend ang government for public use, it is nag-i-indicate na may higher standard of living. Kung mapapansin nyo, ang mga bansang walang masyadong roads, medyo dun makikita mo yung hirap yung bansa. Okay? That is why the good thing that I saw sa administration ni Duterte, dito sila focus sa build programs, sa build programs. Indikasyon kasi sa isang economy na kapag maraming infrastructure project, road programs, bridges, public transit, and whatsoever, it benefits the society, the citizen. Mamadali nga lang mag-travel pag meron ng bridges papuntang Puerto Princesa, Palawan, papuntang Puerto Galera, papuntang Visayas, no? Etong government spending na to sa pagpapaayos ng buhay ng mga tao sa lipunan. Okay? Madalas kasi in a healthy society, no, for those who are not wealthy, hindi masyadong mayaman, they are dependent sa government services, di ba? Yung halimbawa, yung mga social security, yung PhilHealth, yung Medicare sa ibang bansa kasi PhilHealth, no? Siyempre pag libre ang pa-hospital, di ba, nakakatulong sa mga tao sa lipunan natin. So, isang aspeto na if the government has this what we call spending in specific programs, ito rin po ang sinusuportahan ng the World Bank, mga international financial institutions. They support building projects of the government because they want to increase the standard of living ng mga tao doon sa lugar na yon. So, una, ang ating factors to consider in standard of living ay yung consumer spending. Maganda na nag-i-spend ang tao. They have the ability to buy, they spend their money. Okay? Pangalawa, yung investment. Since nakita ng entrepreneurs, ng mga business owners na may pambili ang tao, they invest for businesses. Pangatlo, dapat meron tayong government spending, no, for roads and whatsoever for public use. Last is the net exports. Itong net exports po, dito, export minus imports. Okay. What it should be, parang ganon. Dapat for a country to improve its standard of living, okay, kailangan mas marami tayong export than imports. Kasi kapag mas marami tayong export, halimbawa ang Philippines nagpo-produce ng mga maraming saging, the banana country, the banana republic. Okay. If mataas ang demand for banana sa ibang bansa, they will hire more people sa Philippines. So mababawasan tayo ng mga tambay, mababawasan tayo ng mga unemployed or underemployed. Okay? So it is better kaysa mag-import or may imports. Ang imports kasi yung pagpapasok ng products or pagpasok ng mga foreign brands sa Philippines, it doesn't create jobs, no? It never. Pwede rin siguro, pero mas magandang mas maraming export kaysa imports. The reality that is happening in the Philippines, baliktad. Mas marami tayong imports kaysa sa exports. Yun ang masaklap na katotohanan. Although sa imports kasi we are receiving revenue from the tariffs or yung tinatawag nating taxes imposed sa mga imported products. Pero it doesn't create jobs, no? It is good for a particular country to be exporter rather than importer. Okay? So these are the 4 factors of determining a nation's living standard or standard of living. Consumer spending, investment, government spending, and the net exports. Now, we have also other ways of measuring the quality of life or the standard of living in a particular nation. So, halimbawa, no, the World Bank uses a very similar measure called gross national income. Iba naman to. meron tayong dalawang aspeto ng measuring the national income of a particular nation. Yung gross domestic product niya at saka yung gross national product. Ito naman, gross national income. This is the basis for World Bank to check whether there is equality of life in every person living sa isang country. So dito, it measures the level of income being paid to country's citizen no matter where they are in the world. Halimbawa, no, ang GDP kasi is the production within the country. Okay? Within the country. Kung saan lang na-produce yung product na yun. Halimbawa, yung kotse na-produce sa Philippines. Okay? O kaya, Filipino na nag-work sa abroad, nasa China, nag-produce siya ng kanyang kumita siya ng malaki doon, hindi binibilang sa Philippines yung kinita niya sa abroad. That's not GDP. Sa GNI or sa gross domestic income, the World Bank or ang measurement of quality of life, whether nasa abroad ka or nasa Philippines ka or nasa outside the boundaries of your country, the income is being measured. No? Doon tinitingnan kung meron kang quality of life. No? Kaya nga po, importante yung nasa mga, yung pagko-consider kung nasa upper income, middle income range yung isang bansa. Okay? Yung kung ano yung karamihan na group na belong sila. Okay? Sa GDP, it only measures income paid to the residing borders. Sa GNI, iba po, pati po sa ibang bansa. That's because many citizens live in other countries, they get better jobs. So if they get better job, probably it will help them to increase or improve their standard of living. And then thus, magkakaroon sila ng mas magandang quality of life. They also remit parts of their wages back to their families at home. Ayan, kaya po binibilang, no, kino-consider yung remittances. Actually, dun sa subject ko kanina na contemporary world, diniscuss namin doon yung migration. At isa dun sa factors ng migration, yung global remittances. Binibilang kung gaano karami ang remittances. Umabot sa $600 billion ang accumulated remittances noong 2020 sa lahat ng migrants sa buong mundo. Okay? So that's also how they measure quality of life. Kaya pag the more na maraming hindi pinapadala sa inyo ang inyong mga kamag-anak, it measures the quality of life, no? Mas tawag dito. Nakikita kung saan napupunta yung mga pinaghihirapan ng mga kamag-anak natin sa abroad. Okay? Next ay yung ito naman kung paano mini-measure ng UN. Kanina sabi natin, the World Bank GNI, yung measurement ng quality of life. Si UN, ang gamit niya ay Human Development Index or HDI. Ano naman to? It includes the following 4 data points. So life expectancy at birth, school enrollment, adult literacy, and gross national income per capita. So sa UN, they measure a healthy society by this index. So si UN, pag mataas ang life expectancy at birth sa isang nation na yon, ibig sabihin, construct sa kapitbahay. Ibig sabihin, healthy society nila. Yung school enrollment, consideration also for measuring the quality of life, the adult literacy, and the gross national income per capita. Anong ginagawa ni UN dito? Si UN, it compares, meron siyang gender, no? Si UN, kino-compare niya yung GDP ng countries, no? Via yung tinatawag nating purchasing power parity. Guys, most of the terms here ay pang economics ha. Yung PPP, yan. Triple P, purchasing power parity. Ano ba itong purchasing power parity? Ito po ay yung Halimbawa, meron kang 1,000 pesos dito sa Philippines. Ang nabibili niyang amount, halimbawa nakakabili siya ng 5 basket sa grocery. For example, nag-grocery ka sa SM, meron kang 1,000, 1,000, no? Sige, let's make it more realistic. Halimbawa, meron kang 10,000 pesos at nag-grocery ka sa SM at ang nabili mo na baskets of goods ay 5. 5 na push cart, for example. Now, sa purchasing parity, yung 10,000 mo, if in the Philippines you can buy 5 push carts of goods. Pag nagpunta ka na ng Japan, the same ba yung dami ng goods na mabibili mo? Of course, you will say no, di ba? Kasi mas mahal, probably mas mahal ang bilihin, especially sa South Korea, no? Wait lang po. Especially sa South Korea. I know some friends of ours. Wait lang po, maingay ang aso. Saglit lang. Ayun. Meron kaming mga kakilala na nagpunta ng South Korea, namasyal sila doon. At nagulantang sila kasi ang baon lang nila is hindi ganun kadaming pera. Pagdating doon, ang mamahal ng mga pagkain. For 3 days, they only eat, cup noodles, mumurahing mga bibimbap, mga ganon. So, ibig sabihin po, yung sa purchasing power parity, dito, ikino-compare nung UN, yung mga countries, halimbawa meron kang 10,000 pesos sa Philippines, pag dinala mo na yung 10,000 pesos mo na sa Japan, the same amount of goods ba yung mabibili? Diba? Kung nasa Japan ka na, malamang yung 10,000 mo, 2 push cart lang ang mabibili. Okay? So, ganun po. Ibig sabihin, sabi ni UN, hindi natin mapwedeng i-consider yung GDP alone. Kailangan sa PPP tayo mag-rely nung standard of living sa isang bansa. Okay? So, ito yung nag-a-adjust ng differences ng exchange rate. So, sa UN, the UN uses the index to question national priorities. It asks how 2 countries both are similar in GNIs, no? Having their what we call the GNI per capita have different human development scores. So parang meron pong computation si UN tungkol sa kung paano yung GNI ng dalawang to. Okay? And then meron tayong tinatawag na Gallup Standard of Living Index. Yan. Ito naman ay gamit sa US. Okay? Para siyang ito sa survey lang. It asks Americans if they are satisfied with their current standard of living. It asks them whether they are getting better or getting worse. No, it is extremely subjective measure since it's attitudinal measurement. So itong Gallup Standard of Living, every now and then nagkakaroon ng survey ang Amerika, ang US sa kanilang mga residents whether they are satisfied with the current standard of living. Kaya lang, no? Okay lang naman ito na basihan natin to check kung may magandang standard of living. Halimbawa, natanong mo ay, syempre, yung mga taong hindi umaangat yung estado ng pamumuhay, they will tell you that it's getting worse, di ba? At saka yung iba, kapag ang tinanong mo is yung may improvement sa buhay nila, they will tell you that, or they will rate, so lalabas sa survey that the standard of living is getting better. Attitudinal measurement yon, subjective, kumbaga. Yan. So, this measurement from the World Bank, from United Nations, yung Human Development Indices, sa UN, other ways of UN measuring the standard of living is purchasing power parity, or yung GNI, or yung Gallup Standard of Living Indexes. So, these are how they measure standard of living. Now, sino-sino yung mga sino-sino? Ano yung mga countries with the highest standard of living? So, the standard of living by countries depends on who's doing the measurement and how it's being measured. Sino nag-measure? Paano mini-measure? Here are the most recent highest and lowest ranked countries with links to the full list. Dali lang. Ayan. Ito po, ang nag-conduct nito ay CIA, no? Every country in the world using GDP per capita. So, gross domestic product per capita yung gamit, hindi human development indices, hindi ganon. So, noong 2017 po, ito yung ranking. Ang pinamataas na standard of living ay sa Qatar, kung saan per person, ang kanyang average na kinikita ay $126,898 per person. Sa Qatar po yan, yung 2017. Ang lowest naman, this is annual, annual na kinikita ng tao. Ang lowest po ay sa Burundi of 442 per capita. Let's divide it. Wait lang po Let's do the math. Kung yung 442 times 50, magkano? Medyo mahina tayo sa math. Lang po We need to check kung mas mahirap pa ba tayo sa Burundi, no? 442 times. Ibig sabihin, ang mga tao, kung ang ibabase natin sa Philippines, no? Ang per annual na kinikita ng isang tao sa Burundi po is 22,100 pesos. Okay? So, napakababa, no? Na kaya sabi natin, the lowest noong 2017 ng standard of living niya ay nasa Burundi. Sa Qatar, if 126,898 times $50. Kung peso, no, i-convert natin sa peso, no. Ang kinikita ng mga bawat tao sa Qatar annually ay nasa 6,344,900. Okay? Social, 'di ba? Ang yayaman ng mga tao doon, gaganda ng buhay nila doon kasi ang taas ng kanilang ang kanilang per capita, GDP per capita, per person. Yan. Okay? So that's how, and the United States only ranked 14th, no? 62,795 per capita. Yan. So, ito naman, si World Bank, yung paggamit niya ng GNI, ang Qatar pa rin ang number 1, Burundi pa rin ang lowest, USA 13. Okay. Hindi nagkakalayo doon sa computation ng GNI at saka ng GDP per capita. Ito naman yung sa UN HDI, no? Sa UN iba, because the basis of HDI or Human Development Indices ay base sa life expectancy at birth, school enrollment, ano ba yun? School enrollment, adult literacy, and yung other one na na-discuss kanina. Norway is the highest, no? With a score of 0.954. I am not particular on how the formula of how they computed. Pero ito yung score. Ibig sabihin daw, ang Norway ang may pinakamataas na may standard of living. At Niger, the country Niger, ang may pinakamababa. And the United States only scored 0.920 kung saan sila ay rank 15. Yan. Ilan pa? How do we improve standard of living sa isang bansa? Okay? Una is jobs, no? By creating jobs, no, economies grow. So, where does economic growth came from? Or saan ba nanggagaling ang economic growth? Kaya nga po meron tayong isa sa mga economic goals ay ang pagpapababa ng unemployment. Kasi nga, if more people have jobs, they tend to have income. And if they have income, they have this capacity to buy. They have pang-spend. May consumer spending. Okay? So, nagkakaroon ng productivity and consumption. Okay? Kung mas marami ang taong walang jobs, mas maraming taong walang jobs, mas mababa yung maproproduce ng mga businesses. And sabi natin, di ba, ang GDP natin ay base sa output. In turn, productivity increase are the result of greater human and physical capital and technology, capital and technology all interact in market-driven economy. The more na merong human labor force, kaysa more on capital investment, mas meron tayong tinatawag ng market-driven economy. Pag sinabi nating market-driven economy po, yung ekonomiya natin, ang naglalaro doon ay transactions, may buying and selling activities, may naproproduce, no, na output at may pinambibili. In the pursuit of economic growth, some countries and regions start from different levels. Okay? Lagay ko dito. Hindi yata. Ayan. In the basis of this. For the growth policies for high-income countries, yung mga nakabilang sa the north, they're considered to be high-income countries. The challenge of economic growth is to push continually for more educated workforce that can create, invest in, and apply new technologies. So kaya nga, di ba, most of countries, parang sa Philippines, they invest in education for the youth, sa mga kabataan, sa mga mag-aaral. Kasi some of that will be magiging doktor, magiging educated workforce sila, magiging inventors, magiging ang tawag dito sa Tagalog, kapaki-pakinabang sila after nilang mag-aral. Yan. In effect, the goal of their growth-oriented public policy is to shift their aggregate supply curves to the right. Ito po, hindi ko kasi wala kasi akong board para ma-explain ko sana yung supply curve. Yan. Pero ito po ang sinasabi niyang supply curve, no? Kapag maraming educated workforce and they are being utilized sa government natin and sa society natin, yung supply curve na sinatawag, nag-a-adjust. Ibig sabihin po, pwedeng mag-increase ang ating supply ng mga goods and services. Okay? Kasi nga, maraming tao sa bansa na high income ay nagiging matalino sa pagtatrabaho, sa application of technologies. The main public policies targeted at achieving their goal are fiscal policies. Ito pong mga fiscal policies, meron po kami sa economics. Yung wait lang po Chat kasi si Ma'am Lorna. Wait lang. Sana ako. Meron po tayong tinatawag na fiscal policies. Ito, fiscal policies and monetary policies sa economics to improve the government, to improve the decision-making of the lawmakers sa isang society. Now, dito po, ang mga public policies katulad ng expansionary fiscal policy, contractionary fiscal policy, expansionary monetary policy, at saka contractionary monetary policies, yung mga terms ko, yung mga Chinese, parang ano sinasabi ni ma'am? Ito ay mga terms sa economics po for the decision makers ng mga high income countries, same as sa mga ibang countries also, hindi lang sa high income countries. So dito, kapag meron tayong mga polisiya katulad ng expansionary fiscal policy, binabaan natin yung interest rates, o kaya pag contractionary monetary policy katulad ng meron tayong mga expansionary policies sa Philippines. Ang ginawa ni Duterte po ay yung contractionary fiscal policy kung saan pinababa niya yung tax ng ng mga 30,000 wage earners or 250,000 annually income for those to have more spending. And then pag mas maraming spending yung mga tao, mas maraming pambili. Pag mas maraming pambili, nakakatulong ito sa ekonomiya natin. Those are examples of fiscal policy wherein na makapagpapayaman sa isang bansa at makakatulong sa kanilang standard of living. Okay? Next po. Yung saan na tayo? Next is yung monetary policy. Yan. Etong monetary policy po, maigi ito doon sa pagkontrol ng pera. Pagkontrol sa, ano tinatawag natin, yung flow ng money sa market. So dito, to keep yung tinatawag nating inflation. Kasi 'di ba ang inflation rate ay pag yung inflation ay pagtaas ng presyo ng bilihin. So kaya tayo may mga monetary policy para maging stable or mas mapababa pa natin yung inflation rate sa bansa. No? Ito yung laging binabantayan ng mga economists. Yung inflation rate, kaya I remember noong 2019 or 2018 yata. That was the time that the government, si under kay Duterte, yung inimplement yung contractionary monetary policy, wherein yung sinasabi kong pagtanggal ng mga taxes ng mga minimum wage earners, iyon dahil nga may nagbabadyang pagtaas ng mga bilihin para makatulong sa society or sa mga tao, kahit na magtaas ang presyo ng bilihin, meron silang pambili. That was the time that nagtaas ang mga presyo ng bilihin na may sugar content. Pansin nyo yung Coke natin na nakasalo na 20 pesos before, naging 25 pesos. Yung Tang Juice na tag 16 pesos or 12, 13, parang gano'n, naging 20 pesos siya. So, dahil mayroong inflation sa economy, ang ginawa ng government is implemented contractionary monetary policy, of which tatanggalan ng tax para may pambili. Okay? So these are policies, no, growth policies for not only for high income countries kasi na-implement sa Philippines Okay? So ito po ay isang this is one of the illustration nung tinatawag nating real GDP. Ito, laging consideration natin ang price, no? In a particular price, for example, 85, yung level ng price natin. Ito yung output. Okay? Ito yung output natin kung saan may increase. Wait lang po. Habang tumataas yung price ng mga goods, natin, ganun din, nag-i-increase din yung amount dong pinaproduce. Okay? Ito yung aggregate supply na tinatawag, yung AS. Yung AS po natin, or aggregate supply, these are the amount of supply, or this starting from 600,000. Okay? So, the real GDP, andito po. Sa price na millions, 105 million or billion. I'm not particular, wala kasing legend. Ito yung naproproduce. Yan. However, noong 2000 po, yung mga high-income countries, they found themselves more focused dun sa tinatawag nating short-term goals, not sa long-term. Sa United States, Western Europe po, at sa Japan, they have experienced yung tinatawag nating financial crisis. Remember, we have a financial crisis noong 2008 kung saan from the mortgage issues noong 2008, karamihan po ng bangko na apektuhan po diyan. So most of these high-income countries, sila yung naapektuhan mainly ng financial crisis na to, yung tinatawag nating recession. So may mga after effect ng recession po ay unemployment rates, tumaas ang rate ng walang trabaho sa mga countries na to. So most of this government took aggressive in some cases, yung controversial cases, kung saan nagkaroon sila ng budget deficits. Kaya, because of that, nagkaroon ng mga implementation of yung tinatawag nating expansionary fiscal policy. So these countries must adopt course of combines lower government spending and higher taxes. Yan. So similarly, many central banks, for that case or event or yung nangyari nung 2008 especially, yung mga bangko po, to increase yung economic activity kasi nga recession nga walang economic activity, walang buying and selling, walang purchases. So most of them ay nag-implement ng expansionary monetary policies kung saan what they did is to offer near to zero interest rates sa mga loans and investments. So halimbawa kung ikaw ay nagnenegosyo that time at gusto mong magnegosyo that time between 2000 hanggang 2010 probably, that's the range makaka-avail ka ng masyadong mababang loan or masyadong mababang interest na loan sa mga central bank because of this expansionary monetary policies. Kumbaga, ang expansionary monetary policy kasi, it allows businesses to borrow money from banks with low, near zero, hindi naman zero near zero interest rates. So usually, nagpapautang ng mga 10% to 30% interest rates. That time, halos 6-7% na yung mga interest rates ng mga loans. Isang example po natin dito ay ang Japan. So Japan po, si Shinzo Abe, siya ang new elected prime minister ng Japan that time. Because Japan has focused sa short-term goals niya, sa short-term activities. Isa rin po ito sa naapektuhan nung recession. So, para mas magkaroon ng stimulus or mag-increase ng money supply, ito nga, nagkaroon they offered low interest kung saan dahil low interest, nagkaroon printing ng mas maraming pera, para kapag magamit sa public works spending. Okay? So, ito po si Shinzo Abe. Kung kayo po ay ang major subject ng economics, mas maiintindihan nyo po. I think, masasabi natin, nagsa-Chinese si ma'am. Hindi po. It's just that, may mga terms dito na pang economics, pero para maintindihan natin, kapag ang isang bansa ay nakaka-experience ng recession, okay? At yung mga businesses ay hindi walang perang pang, 'di ba? It takes money to make a money. So itong mga business, they have to make loans. Now, the government or the central banks, sila yung common na kukuhaan ng resources. If the banks have higher interest rates, etong mga negosyante, they tend to limit. Hindi sila mag-i-invest, hindi sila magtatay ng negosyo or mag-start ng businesses. So, pag walang businesses, walang i-consume ang market. Okay? So itong mga expansionary monetary policy, they offer near to zero interest rates para sa mga investment, and then because of that the central bank will print more money, new money actually, for spending. Yan. So we will continue this discussion about the standard of living as a basis ng measurement for healthier society is yung ating GDP. Yan, more on economics po. Hindi po natin kasi pwedeng ang sukatan lamang ng isang healthy society ay yung walang kaguluhan, walang masyadong conflict sa nations. Ayun. So, hindi ganon. In reality, countries, UN, World Bank, the others, they measure our standard of living by our productions, by our consumption. Okay? So that's it for today. Please check sa LMS for the second part of this discussion. And I think that's the last discussion for this SEM sa subject na CF8. I hope na marami tayong natutunan. If you have some questions related to this topic, you can comment sa ating sa LMS po kung saan siya may post. Okay? And that's it for today. Have a nice day, everybody. God bless. Bye-bye.